The House of Representatives has voted and passed the bill. Now it goes on to the Senate, where we may have a little bit of an issue. Let's get into it and discuss why this is so unbelievably important, what they are voting on right now, and the significance behind everything that is going on. So let's get right into it. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here, or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I'm back each and every day to bring you all of the latest updates as they are being released. So thank you again for your support. I really appreciate it, and I'll continue to be here for you every single day. All right, let's get into this and talk about what is actually going on and why this is so unbelievably important. So, just a couple days ago, I was out in a video and I said, pay attention, this week is going to be busy once again, and there will be some voting going on this week, especially as we approach the end of the month. There are some key deadlines coming, and Congress needs to vote on them very soon here, this week in fact, otherwise we could be getting into a really bad situation. So, let me explain what actually went down yesterday evening. The House of Representatives hosted a vote, and of course it did pass. Now it goes on to the Senate, where we may have some major issues there before they can actually get this thing passed. Let me tell you what is actually being voted on right now and the significance behind this. Let me give you a little hint. If this does not pass, this will literally impact every single person in this country, and it would be a very bad situation. So, let's get into it, explain what's going on. So, yesterday evening, the House of Representatives voted on a continuing resolution which would continue to keep the government funded until early December. December 3rd, they want to keep the government funded until. Now, as we've talked about before, the end of September is the end of the fiscal year. So, as of October 1st, the new fiscal year would begin. Well, they haven't exactly worked out a new federal budget. Therefore, they need to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government funded. Otherwise, we may be facing a government shutdown at the end of this month, literally in a matter of just days. So, they have this continuing resolution to keep the government funded at the current levels until December 3rd. However, attached to the continuing resolution, they also have a suspension of the debt limit. Now, this is the key one. It's not so much the continuing resolution as far as keeping the government funded. Of course, we want to avoid a government shutdown if possible, but that's not really the big issue. It is the suspension of the debt limit. That is the really big one right there. Why, you say? Well, we've alluded to this previously in a few videos, and I'm not going to get into much detail simply because it's a confusing topic and you don't really need to know all the details. It's in reference to raising the debt ceiling. Now, you've probably heard all the drama going down about that right now. Well, that is back out there once again, and the Treasury has warned us many times now that they have deployed these special measures to keep everything going as far as paying the obligations, paying the bills of the government, things like this for a while. But the Treasury will be fresh out of cash in October. In other words, they're broke. They have no money. So here's the thing. If they run out of money, which they will if nothing else happens here, they will run out of money, which means they would default on some of their obligations. Now, what do we mean by this? Because now this is where it's going to get really interesting, and here is where it becomes very important here. So, think of it for any of us on a personal level. If we don't have any money and we can't pay our, let's just say, mortgage, for example, what happens? We default. Therefore, the bank comes in, they take the house from us, right? They take the house, because we defaulted, we can no longer pay our bills. We default, they take it from us, and they basically crush our credit. Pretty much exactly what happens. Well, the government is basically in the exact same situation right now. They're running out of money, they won't be able to pay their obligations, and it would really destroy the credit rating of the United States. So, let's talk about this and why this is actually so important. So, here's what they're trying to do. So, they have the continuing resolution, and they have attached to it the suspension of the debt limit. However, some people in Congress are saying, no, we're not going for that. We don't like that. We're not going to be voting for the suspension of the debt limit. Therefore, if the government actually defaults and they cannot pay their obligations, that means they may not be able to, actually I shouldn't even say may, they will not be able to make payments on basically anything federal related. any type of federal payments going out on a monthly or regular basis, they wouldn't be able to make because they don't have any money. Let me give you some examples. Government workers, anybody that works for the government, nope, sorry, you would be furloughed because you would not be getting any kind of pay because they don't have any money to pay you. Service members, again, unfortunately, they would not get any pay of any kind because they are essentially paid by the government directly, right? Social Security, retirement, disability, SSI, VA, RRB, all of these individuals, yes, it is scary, but you may not get your payments if this goes down. They would not have any money to pay. So this is something that could be potentially on the table where they may not be able to pay any of these benefits. Now, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm simply telling you what is going on out there. So if you've been watching my videos for any length of time now, you know that I don't come back and I make people scared by sharing things. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to scare people. I'm simply telling you this is what could happen as a result of not having an extension or not suspending the debt limit. In other words, allowing the government to continue to spend money and just continue to pay their obligations, things like this. So they want to extend the suspension of the debt limit all the way out until December of 2022, which is a little over a year from now. That's not that long out from now, and then they'd be right back in the same situation where they need to do it once again, right? But we're kind of really coming down to it. So essentially anything that is funded by the federal government and some state programs, even like Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, food for like kids, things like this, all these other programs like that that are funded by the federal government, once again, those would be all essentially shut down. I mean, they would not have funding. They do not have money to pay for the bills. So essentially, that's what it all comes down to. So I know it sounds really crazy and like, no, there's no way this could ever happen. We're pretty much facing it right now. So again, this is not a funny situation. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing simply because it's like, this is a really bad situation, and we're pretty much only a matter of a couple weeks out from this actually happening. So even though that the House of Representatives voted on this and they actually did pass the continuing resolution and the suspension of the debt limit, it now goes to the Senate. And we know from experience, the Senate is where things get hung up, right? The House typically is just a rubber stamp. They usually just get everything through simply because they do have the majority there in the House of Representatives. They can sacrifice a few votes there in the Senate and still get things passed. But in the House, but in the Senate, it is straight down 50-50 on both sides, and they need to get all 50 votes in order to get things passed. Actually, they need, in this case, they need more than 50 votes. This is not a 50-vote type of situation. They need more than 50 votes to get this done. So they need to bring even more people over to vote in favor of this. So yeah, as you can see here, we are now on to the Senate. All eyes are on the Senate to get this thing passed. And if it doesn't, it could be a really kind of ugly situation going forward. So anyway, if you see other headlines out there right now talking about the vote or the House of Representatives has voted and they passed, well, yes, it's the continuing resolution, which we talked about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago already. We said it. You know, one of the videos I was back saying, hey, they're going to be voting this week. So if you see headlines talking about votes passed, that's exactly what it is. And that's what we were talking about right here, because they voted on it yesterday evening. And yes, of course, they did pass it. So now it's on to the Senate, and that's going to be the big one. So we'll have to see what happens the rest of today and or the rest of this week as the Congress is back in session fully. All of them are back in session this week. After their, 5 or 6 week vacation. They were gone a long time there, right? So anyway, of course, just more drama that we can add in, more fuel, right? Man, there's so much going on right now. It's just like unreal. One more thing. It's just one thing after another, seriously, with so many different things going on right now. But either way, I want to let you know what's going on. If you've been seeing these headlines talking about a vote being passed, things like this is what it's in reference to. So I'll continue watching everything as I always do. I'll be back later with another video update and let you know what's going on. So stay safe out there. Enjoy your day. Thanks again for your support. Subscribe down below and go back and check out some other videos right here on the channel. Thank you. I appreciate it.